welcome everybody. Another chance for me to talk to, in this case, a longtime friend, Michelle Baldwin, who's teaches a variety of things with the younger students in independent school in Denver. So, Michelle, why don't you introduce yourself more formally and give us the details of where you are and what you're doing?
Okay, thanks for having me. I appreciate you asking. I'm Michelle Baldwin, and I live actually closer to Colorado Springs, between Colorado Springs and Monument, Colorado, and I teach at Anastasis Academy. We are a private school in Centennial, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver. Right now we have about 50-ish kids, and I never know the actual numbers. It goes up and down sometimes. And I teach ages 7 through 10. It's a general ed classroom there. Our school is an inquiry-based model. So we don't actually have grade levels or isolated content areas. So it's usually it takes me about 2 hours to explain what our school does. So I'll just give you the short bit there. But one of the things that I love the most about our school is that it helps kids to stay curious and wonder, and they're not, they don't think of school as something to suffer through or that, things that they have to do. It's more things that they get to do. So it's been, we're finishing up our 9th year. I start to lose track. The school started in August of 2011, so doing math there. Yeah, so it's just been a joy to be at that school and to work with the amazing staff at our school and the families that we just really love. It feels more like a family. If you talk with our students, they'll definitely say this feels like a family.
Well, and as you're speaking, and of course, as I've been doing these conversations, I'm talking with people from public schools, and of course, one of the threads that's gone throughout is how much those educators are they maybe haven't used the words inquiry, but they're leaning into the hopes and the possibilities of what school could be, which is what Kelly essentially helped establish, and that's what your school is built on. So the notion of progressive education, of course, is in your bones and in the DNA of the school. But with this crisis, my question, I guess, is like, what have you as a staff decided school is now, and what does it look like, and sort of what are your responsibilities? And again, with a close family, you probably had to kind of co-create what the things, what school looks like now.
You're right. It's been difficult, I think, for everybody. We have the privilege of the majority of our families are internet connected. Every student in our school has a device as part of our school supplies. So the connectivity part was actually something that wasn't super difficult to solve. If we had families who didn't have internet or had poor connections or something, Kelly worked with them. Kelly, but Kelly Tinkley is such a planner, and she had plans for what we were going to do probably 2 to 3 weeks before we finally said, hey, we have to start doing remote learning. So of course she has a plan for that. But she talked with families and said, if you need help, she's been working with internet service providers to make sure that they had hotspots for families who needed it. So that way they could continue on. Our last in school day face-to-face contact was March 13th. So we were a week away from our spring break. So she said, we'll extend spring break for 2 weeks. That'll give families some time to kind of figure out a game plan of how we'll make this work. And then we're just going to play it by ear. And once we start, we made sure that all the kids had the apps on their iPads that they needed to do some remote learning. I definitely don't want to call it distance learning or online learning because it's not the same. So our remote plans were send some items home with the kids. We got some canvas bags and put in journals and papers and pencils and crayons and markers and just supplies that kids might need, and books and materials to create with. And that was really helpful. I think even now I set a whiteboard home with each of my students. So we've been playing games on our video conferencing, and they love that they can do their work on the whiteboards, or they could answer questions for games, and that part of it was fun. To your question about how inquiry is lending itself to this, the harder part for especially the younger kids is that they're not quite as independent as they are even in the classroom. They're in a completely different situation where they're at home, and everything that we put into place within the classroom is not going to be there just because they're not in the classroom. So extending a lot of grace and talking with kids and reminding them that they can contact me. We've got a certain number of video conference calls that we do each day, and we talk through it. So remember, if you need help, you don't need to go to mom or to dad or whoever's in your house. You can come back to your teacher. That's my job, and I'll help you, walk you through this. So the fact that we don't have standardized testing or grades, for that matter, we don't assign grades at our school. It's been helpful that they've been able to just continue exploring the inquiry units that we happen to be in. So right now my class is in how the world, I was gonna say how the world works, that's the wrong one, sorry. How we can protect our earth, it's sharing the planet. We're learning about plant cycles and animals' life cycles, and they're planting seeds, and they've learned that, oh, if you have, green onions at your house, you can regrow them. So a lot of it still is just, here's things that we would be doing in the classroom, and we're just accommodating as much as we can to help parents out so they don't feel like they have to be homeschool teachers at the same time as remote learning. So I rambled on a whole lot there. Sorry about that. But I think we're all just doing the best that we can, and our expectations just have to be, the kids need touch points with people's faces. They need to talk with their friends. They need to see the adults in their lives who care about them in addition to their families. And that is our top priority. If the academics come after that, that's okay, because that's the way it should be anyway. And that's been our emphasis this whole time.
So you're in the enviable position in some respects, in that you built the school around a very clear progressive education around inquiry. You have parents who opt in. So these are all the advantages that you have, but my guess is that you're still, maybe through this, my question would be is what inequities are you discovering or seeing, even though, because a lot of times equity issues revolve around devices. Well, that's not an issue, but there's so many more other issues that you're seeing in terms of, this is a little unexpected, or I'm getting an inside look as to some of the challenges that kids face of from all contexts. So what have you seen sort of that has kind of caught your attention in that area?
For sure, the families that have if they have more kids, for families who have one or two, it's been much more manageable. If they have 3, 4, 5, or 6 kids in
Yeah.
their home or more, it's been really hard for those families. And parents are working from home also, so it's not just it doesn't look like Leave It to Beaver situation where you've got a mom who's available to help all the time. And again, that's one of the things that I've tried to really emphasize with parents is, please don't feel like you have to do this schooling. That is my job. But reality is that kids are going to go to their parents and ask questions. And now the parents are in a situation where they're trying to help their kids and do their jobs and still run a household and now they've got, more meals a day to feed kids. And what happens when, it's Colorado. We have really nice weather days, and the kids can go outside and ride their bikes or play in their yard. And some days it's raining or sometimes snowing, and they're stuck back inside. So everybody has cabin fever. So that part of it I know has been really difficult. We've got some kids who are just in very different stages of their learning. For those kids who are really solid readers, it's been pretty easy for them to be independent because they can read instructions, they comprehend, they know what they'd like to do. And for the kids who struggle with reading, I'm doing a lot of voice recording and we do video, but it's still not the same as having someone there to help you read through, ask questions in real time. Those are the kids I'd be supporting in small group sessions with me if we were in the classroom physically. And now it's that still there's that disconnect, and it's frustrating for them. They don't always want to ask for help because they feel like they should know how to do this already. And again, I'm just like, no, guys, that's all right. You come back to me. That's why we've set this up, so that you can continue asking me for help. But asking for help isn't sometimes a thing that people want to do. They want to be self-sufficient. So that alone, our teacher of our littles, she teaches 5 and 6 year olds. She's amazing, first of all, in and out of the classroom. But I'm telling you what, right now, I don't know how she's doing it, because I've been in the class with her every once in a while online to teach music. And those little kids, they're so sweet and they're so cute. And they really struggle to keep attention for even 5 minutes in
Yeah.
person, let alone on video. So I don't know. We don't have, our demographics are pretty much in an area of privilege. We don't have a lot of kids who are going without food. I have friends in this area and up in Denver whose kids are struggling with meals. So there's a lot of school districts that are starting to open up their high school parking lots and have basically a drive-through where they can put bags of food in people's cars, so that the kids are getting meals, 3 meals a day. And if the families don't know that they can do that, or if they don't have the ability to go out and actually go get that food, they're just kids who don't get to eat, lunch or breakfast because they're missing out on school.
What do you,
Solve that problem, and something that I wish that I did.
yeah, no, and there's just like the problem sort of as you go to different areas, it just keep adding up, and so, oh yeah, there's that, oh yeah, there's that, because we just haven't done this before. When you think about, because we talked about earlier about, we don't know when we don't know, there's so many unknowns. So like, let's say, I don't know, well, we know school's not going to happen this year, but let's say it doesn't, let's say for whatever reason this carries on into the fall in some way, shape, or form. What are your worries? The things that I'm kind of worried how this is going to play out within your own context, or teaching in general. What are you concerned about as this plays out?
For our school, my concern is that we'll go back, and then fall and winter hit, and then it's going to be another round of quarantine. I really personally think that that's probably going to happen, and that's so disruptive. And you've got kids who say, I just want to see my friends, I just want to see my teachers. And for them to say, okay, yay, we can go back to school in the fall, and then have to go back into isolation or quarantine or social distancing, whatever you want to call it. That part I worry a lot about, just upsetting that flow. For education in general, and this is again where I feel super fortunate, we don't have a school where the kids go into the next grade based on their age. We look at where they are, social, emotional, academic, who are their peers, and that's where they're grouped for their classes. So it's not like they are going to get, they have to be held back or anything because of what they might have missed from the previous school year ending because of COVID-19. For other schools, they're really struggling with, what are we going to do? These kids didn't finish, first grade or ninth grade. Do we move them along or what? Because they have to teach to a curriculum and state standards for age and grade level, where we just teach to the kid regardless of where they are. Our goal is to move them forward. Forward progress is what we do. So I'm looking at that and saying, how do you think you're going to be able to take education back to where it was before all of this and not change the system? You have to change the system. There are inequities everywhere. We could spend hours just talking about all that, but which kids are going to be able to move forward? How about the kids who are, graduating seniors? Have they finished everything that they were supposed to complete for graduation requirements? And if not, are you going to tell them they can't graduate because of something they couldn't control?
Mm-hmm.
That is hugely concerning to me. And I know most schools are giving the seniors, yeah, you're going to go ahead, you're going to graduate. But what about everybody else? And how are you going to resolve that in a system that has always been built in this, in a manner that actually amplifies or creates the inequities?
Right. Yeah, no, there's Yeah, we want to know that these things won't perpetuate, but
Right.
these are the unknowns too. Just shifting gears a little bit to something just a little bit more light. I'm always curious around people's new routines and those moments where you go, okay, this is really weird. I don't normally do this. Like I'm, whether it's teaching in pajamas or just strange experiences. So what's just that moment that caught you saying this is really weird as you've sort of done this remote remote teaching gig?
Um, I, I don't even know how to answer that. I get to wake up a little bit later because my commute was really long. So I'm actually getting to sleep in until 6 in the morning, which is nice for me, or later if I need to. I think it's the mid-afternoon naps, which I know we've joked about nap chat for years, but I'm exhausted by lunchtime. So I eat a really quick lunch and I catch a nap. And if I don't get it then, it's I just, as soon as we're done with school, I think I usually finish up somewhere between 3:30 and 4 after meetings or talking with parents or whatever. And I'll head upstairs and think about making dinner, and I end up falling asleep, sound asleep on the couch for about an hour or so. So that's just not like me. I like to nap on weekends, but not during the day.
Well, I mean, I think it has to do with the fact that like we're just not getting our energy from, we get our energy from being with people and kids and so forth, and like that's what kind of sustains us. And now it's this, and I was just reading an article the other day about like how Zoom chats are actually more draining because like you're not, you have to pay more attention to visual cues, like you have to kind of really be focused, or else you look like
Right,
you're not even in it, and it's more draining than if you and I were just sitting in the same room having
for
this
sure.
conversation. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely new aha moments of that. But I'm glad you can sleep in a little bit. That's cool.
I do.
So
I open the back of this window, the blinds over here every once in a while because there are deer that are literally right there eating all my flowers and grass. And so the kids are like, is it deer cam yet today? And
right, I'll give them a little bit. That's good. You
right.
can share a little bit. So last question is what what good do you sort of hope like that you've seen that said, well, I hope that was kind of nice that this has happened, whether it's whether it's afternoon naps or whatever else, do you hope sort of might sustain itself coming out of this?
Kelly Tinkley and I were talking about how we've been forced to slow down, and that we can't just go and be consumers of everything. That we're looking at what our basic needs, and can we meet those basic needs. So I think for me personally, it is that slowing down. I don't have to be busy every minute of the day, going and doing and running around. That um, I can take time. This sounds like so crazy, but I can take the time to actually bake something or make food rather than just go out and buy something that's convenient. My husband John and I are trying to still support all of our local businesses as much as we can, so we get takeout every once in a while. But stopping to think that our economy and the way that we have done things here in the States sometimes leads us to have this kind of artificial sense of hurry up and get busy and get doing these things. And, I'm hardly ever home during the school year. I sleep here. That's about it. Weekends, I try to stay around my house, but being forced to stay in my house, seeing a lot more of my neighbors, spent more time in our yard, working on, just landscaping and things. I'm not great at that, but I'm trying. So I think that maybe just being slower and more intentional to take in the things around us. We've been forced to do that. And that's, again, I keep saying that word privilege. It is definitely a privilege to be able to do that. And I'd like to continue that personally.
Well, you're not alone in that one. I think we all kind of, I think everybody sort of, you know, got a glimpse of that from some way. And I hope we do learn some lessons around like how we spend our money, what's important,
Mm-hmm.
what isn't important. So let's hope we do that. Well, thanks so much for
Sure.
taking the time to chat. I
Thank
appreciate that.
you. Thank you
Maybe you
for
can have a
having
nap.
me. That'd be great.
It's Friday. Take us out. Give yourself a nap.
That sounds great. I love it.
Okay. We'll see ya.
Take care. Thanks so much.